putting a woman as wanted persons.
All right, joining us now in the studio for this conversation is Public Affairs Analyst Tipo Oyewole. Welcome. And happy public holidays,
Yes.
happy Good Friday, so to speak. But yes, this is a matter that still remains on the front burner for obvious reasons. Now the army is intensifying its pursuit of these persons and has released the names and pictures of persons declared wanted, 8 of them. But what are your thoughts so far?
Oh, well, personally, I believe that the attack on our military personnel is really unacceptable. We've always said this. And speaking of either they were ambushed or not, you remember that last year, 2023, we had a few cases of this. Unfortunately, we had a similar ambush in March 2023 of our military personnel. Right. We had another one around August 2022. We had a few of those as well. For me, it is a bit alarming that people, one, no matter who they are, no matter which part of the country they reside in, would be confident enough to do that in the first place, that you want to ambush the military and you believe that there will not be casualties at the point of attack now. Mm-hmm. So for me, I believe it takes some kind of insane boldness that I don't know where that's coming from. But we must also look at the issue of how that is possible, because we had said this, I believe another one happened 3-4 years ago, where we kept asking the question, how is that possible that a top military official his convoy was ambushed? Because this is not something that's put there in the public. It's not like he's going to leave the base and then he'll do a TikTok video or an Instagram video and say, okay, I'm going to this particular location. This is going to be my route. This is what's going on. So how were they able to ascertain where they were going to be, where they were going to go through at any particular time? Because the whole concept of an ambush means that you have foreknowledge of a person's route, and then you're able to properly prepare for when they come through for you to attack. That's literally the whole point of an ambush. So those are things that I would want us to really look at and want the military intelligence officers to really look at while they're considering this investigation. But that being said, the release of the 8 names is a step in the right direction. We hope that the investigation is done and thorough, and that it will be done in a very transparent manner as well. That if they are found to be guilty, that the law take its due course. So that is, for me, a step in the right direction, because up until now, we've not had any persons being declared when these kind of things happen. And we're hoping that this will be the very last time that we'll hear that our military officers are being ambushed in any given form.
Well, we saw in that report of the king of Ewu Kingdom, Clement Ipolo, turned himself in,
yes,
against the claim that he has been wrongly listed among the wanted criminals. And that begs the question, does it not put the question around the credibility or the veracity of the claim of those names or faces we have on the wanted list of the military?
Not necessarily, because he still has to be proven innocent, because he's innocent until proven guilty. So it's either he's proven innocent or proven guilty. So it's when maybe he's been tried through a court of law and then he's been proven innocent, then we can say that, okay, how did you gather the intelligence to add him on the list? Then can we rely on the credibility of the list in its entirety? How did you come about those names and all of that? So then we can beg the question of how all of that came about. But for now, I believe that whomever the suspects are, that they turn themselves in to the appropriate law enforcement agents for the proper investigations to be carried out, so that we can know if you're to be exonerated or otherwise. But for me, I believe that him turning himself in is a step in the right direction.
Right, and I want to even take it further from what you just said in passing about, and it replicates some concerns on ground. One of them expressed by Femi Falana, who says, the army shouldn't bungle this case. There should be a limit to where it can, push this, transfer it to appropriate law enforcement agencies. It's not in your place as the army to declare people wanted. I don't know if that thought also runs through your mind, because for those people, they say that it would seem that you are being a judge in your case, and so they could bungle the case if not well handled by the persons or the bodies constitutionally empowered to do so.
Yes, and that's one thing that I would want them to take heed of, because I alluded to that a bit earlier, that it would be good that even if they are apprehended by the army, they be handed over to the police, because we must also respect jurisdiction and the rule of law, because now they have public sympathy on their sides. Every single person is outraged. They must also tread carefully. We understand that a precedent must be set, that you cannot do this and get away with this. However, we must also, and they must also be seen to obey and follow the rule of law. So it isn't just about getting revenge on the men that were killed, but it is about seeking justice. And the only way we can seek justice is doing it through appropriate courts. So if they're apprehended by the army, they should be handed over to the police and then tried by the courts. That is the rule of law. That's how to get things done properly, not being judge, jury, and executioner in your own investigation. I believe that would make them lose public sympathy, which they haven't had in a bit. And this is not the time to squander whatever they've been able to gather through this unfortunate incident. So they must be sensitive and they must do the right thing responsibly.
In the light of that, do you think, how would you appraise or how would you assess their reaction so far? Because the day after the incident happened, we saw on the social media people saying that you don't do this to the army or to the Nigerian military and then you get away with it. It could lead to the razing down completely of that particular village and all of that. And then we saw on the social media of places burning and all of that. But then the Nigerian army, they denied the allegation of staging an attack and all of that. But we also heard of an elder statesman, Edwin Clark, who is saying that his family home was also ransacked by the Nigerian military. They also denied that. But what has been your own appraisal of their reaction since this incident?
Well, a bit of mixed feelings, because there have been allegations and denials. So the question is, the allegations are coming from who is really denying it, and the army denying it. In some cases, they may get to do some things and deny it altogether. But we would like to see the responses measured to this particular incident. Like I said, it's a very, very heinous crime, what has happened. But we would like to see that justice is done and not revenge. We must let the rule of law take precedent above all else. That's very important, because that is also another way that people can have a strong confidence in our system. Now, a lot of people are saying that the law enforcement agencies, the judiciary, they have their different thoughts on them. So this is a good time for us and for them to reinforce the confidence that a lot of people should have in those institutions. And they must see it as a very unique opportunity to win people to their side, because it is when you win people to your side that you would have better intelligence in terms of your operations in different parts of the country. So they must see it as a very unique opportunity for them to have ease of access to how they carry out their operations, and ensure that they do not bungle this particular issue. It is very, very important. This one would also set the precedence for how they are perceived for some time to come.
Right, but what are your thoughts about the possible motive behind this kind of heinous killings? Some are positing that it may be beyond the land disputes that has been widely reported in the news regarding Okwama and another community, Okoloba. Some are saying that looking at the personality of one of the killed soldiers in the person of the leader of the Nigerian Army Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Ali, that it could be, wider issues of oil bunkering, the exploits that the army has been making, to curb oil bunkering in the area. How do you view the whole? Because I know that was how you started off, as in your words now, the insane boldness, for them to take out this kind of, some will call it a suicide mission, especially looking at the anger on the part of the army and, you know, how they're pressing on. But, you know, what are your thoughts as to what could have even been a justification for this kind of action taken by these persons?
Okay, well, it is currently hard to say. And, I mean, the point remains, whatever the reasons are, it is invalid. And we must be clear and unequivocal about the particular issue. Whatever their justifications are, in quotes, it is really invalid for you to do anything of the sort. It's really invalid, and I wouldn't want to speculate because we wouldn't want people to take whatever we say about that as gospel. So it is important that the statement is made and it is clear. This is unacceptable. And it must be done in the right way, according to the rule of law, because this must be emphasized over and over again. Because you'll be surprised that a lot of people, excuse me, also expect the army to react in a particular way that isn't in accordance with the law. And they may have their reasons as well. But we must also look at it holistically, that the army is an institution in itself. It has what it represents. We have a lot of cases of insecurity in different parts of the country, that they are part of the bodies that are helping to see how they can quench it. Now, the only way they can do that effectively and efficiently is for them to be able to work very well with the locals, to gather intelligence, to help the operations, to execute them successfully. So that's the perspective I am looking at it from, and that is what I am most concerned about, that they are able to have a better relationship, especially from an intelligence gathering perspective, to ensure that the operations are a lot better and that the executions of said same are a lot smoother. That, for me, is the major priority as an outcome on the other side of all of this. That is, for me, very, very important, because we've had the issues of insecurity in different parts of the country dragging on for many, many years, and we would like to see it end. We would like to see it end. So an intense cooperation between the army and the locals in any part of the country to see how they tackle insecurity is one of the sure ways to ensure that that is done. Because nothing happens in isolation. Anything that happens, happens within a particular community. And a community is made up of people, human beings. So until you are able to get the cooperation of the people within said community, I believe that whatever you're doing will just be in limbo.
Unfortunately, the narrative we got was that the Nigerian army were there on a peace mission, and that's to ensure that there's peace at the end of the day. But with this happening to them, do you not feel that this has definitely, or this would definitely affect, the trust that they have, for the people, so much so that if they have similar call to ensure that they are able to mediate between warring parties, they probably might be skeptical in doing that? That is one. And two, do you not also, on the other side, maybe people inviting them for, peace mission will not be thinking, otherwise based on this incident that we have, on our hands?
Okay, well, from the perspective of the Nigerian army or any law enforcement agent, understanding the fact of what your responsibilities are, you would know that you take emotions out of it. Because at the very heart of it, you are professionals. And whatever you do, it is based off of an order. And you do not refuse an order. So if you have an order to go to a particular location to ensure that there's peace in that particular area, you go there irrespective of whatever personal emotions you have or grievances or whatever you feel altogether. And I believe that that shouldn't be a factor, and that shouldn't play out in how they execute their duties. Because if we're saying that they should act based on emotion, I mean, there are some mornings that you're giving orders to go do certain things and then you're not interested. I mean, we're here right now. A lot of people are at home. We're here. You're doing your job. And the question is, did you really want to come here this morning, or you just want to say, okay, it's a public holiday. Can I go to bed? So it comes to a place of responsibility, understanding that you have responsibility to do your job as it should be done. As much as it is a job for them, it is also a very crucial one from the perspective of national security. So I believe that the emotions do not come into play in this particular regard, not like we're discounting them, we respect it, but we're saying as professionals that they are, that they follow orders and they discount whatever personal emotions they may have with said given orders.
And do you also think that this would also bring about the army addressing its mandate, as in reviewing its mandate? Because some say ordinarily, going to maintain law and order, between two, in strained relationships between two communities, doesn't appear to fall within the mandate of the Nigerian army. I mean, that is what, on the face value of it, on the face level of it, what the regular police force could have done. Why invite the army when they have other larger concerns? Do you think that this period or this ugly episode would also bring some form of review in? I know the military is looking at maintaining cordial relationships with civilian populations, but with what has happened now, what do you think, or what should be the way to go?
Okay, well, this isn't at the fate of the army. It isn't at all, because what we're saying in that particular regard is symptomatic of a larger issue. Now, the larger issue is that our security apparatus, from whatever direction, that top to bottom, left to right, whatever you want to call it, needs to be looked at thoroughly. Because, one, we've always said that the army had no business getting involved in internal issues. The whole point of having the army of any nation is to protect that nation from external threats.
Aggression, right.
So they're supposed to be facing outside to guard you against external threats. Where you have the army of a nation looking inwards to help you with domestic issues, certain challenges will come up. Now, this is not saying they're responsible for anything that happened right now, but we're saying that that is not even part of their charter to begin with. Now, that being said, that the police, as we know, we have always complained, they are underfunded, the personnel aren't enough, and if we're even being honest about this particular matter, if we're going by the reason given that they're supposed to be there to help with a peace mission, I still believe that it is even below the pay grade of the police to do so. Why do we have the civil defense? That's responsible of the civil defense, if we're being honest about it. So that's why I said we need to look at the entire security architecture of the nation, because if we are bumping an issue from what's supposed to be the responsibility of civil defense, so from civil defense you leave civil defense, you leave police, and then go to the military for a domestic issue, it tells you that there's a serious problem somewhere. So that's why we need to look at security architecture of the country and see how we address it properly. Everyone should have a proper mandate and should operate within that mandate and not go beyond their charter.
Right, and I think it also speaks to us as a people, because, in this climb, one would say, if you see a regular police officer, maybe there's a breakdown of law and order, you see a police officer, pardon my vernacular there, they probably won't take the police officer serious, as against when they now see a soldier coming in to maintain the peace, and then people will naturally adjust because of this higher regard that they seem to have for soldiers as against police officers. Doesn't that speak to some culture change that we need to imbibe as a people?
As the people, I won't lay that at the feet of the people. I'll say the reputational issue any institution has is at the table of the institution, not the recipients or the people who are giving you that, who are giving that kind of response. So, for the police and the reputation with regards to the reputation of the army, it is solely and squarely at the table of said institutions, not the people, because whatever reaction you are getting from people would have been whatever behavior you have acted upon consistently that has allowed them to make certain deductions about your institution, about your agency, about your body. So we cannot hold the people responsible for reacting in a certain way when there has been consistent action in a particular direction. So I believe that it is for whatever institution that is involved in or that is concerned with having whatever reputation to see how they can fix up if it isn't good enough, and if it is in a certain way that they do not like, to see how they can address it.
That's right. And I believe that there are some of these issues that the local communities should be able to handle themselves. They've got a king on one hand and king on the other hand. What's your advice for this community going forward, especially in handling similar situations in the future?
Well, in the case of, taking it from the context that was a clash between different communities, yes, we would say that we expect more from the traditional rulers of said communities, and it would be an embarrassment that you're a traditional ruler in a particular community and then that kind of conflict is going on, because I do not believe that any kind of conflict or issue will happen without the community leader, with whatever title, being aware of this. Now, doesn't mean they are complicit, but it does mean that they will be aware of it at the brewing level. Not even them taking to the streets to do whatever they want to do and all of that. So the question is, what were those community leaders doing all along at the brewing stages? Because you would also know that for whatever reasons that the youth or whatever group in any community would want to take action, they would have gone to notify their community leaders, if not to get assent, but to at least register their grievances. That these are the issues we're having, these are the things we do not like, what are you going to do about it? So, was it handled well at the community leader level, or was it handled poorly? So we also need to have these conversations with the community leaders, not just in this particular case, but also everywhere in the country, because I do not believe that there's any part of this country where we do not have a community leader with whatever title they choose to go by. And they must also understand that with that particular role and title, that they have responsibilities to their community, not just representing them, but to ensuring that there is peace, there's order in those communities,
right,
as given by the law.
All right, that's all we have time for, Dipo Oyewole. Thanks a lot for your contributions on the program.